Hello, podcast world. This is Chats with Baba, brought to you by Lighthouse for Academic and Cultural Excellence. The purpose of this podcast is to inform, empower, and educate parents of young Black children. The information is good for all children, but I specifically focus on young Black children. Parents are the first and foremost teachers in the lives of their children. To inform parents is to enable them to release the natural genius in Black children. Black children have untapped and undeveloped gifts. The quality of experience and exposure lays the foundation for life. From miseducation to education, we strive for excellence. You have before you a picture of a mother embracing her child. And if you notice what the statement says, a mother hugging her child shows love and trust. Love and trust are important parts of the building blocks for excellence. It's important that as a parent, we understand just how much we impact our children. Now, let me take the role of an elder, if you will. I've reached a point where I'm in my mid-80s, and I've watched my children grow up. I've watched my grandchildren grow up, who are now both in college. The pandemic that we went through has changed how we live, how we work, and schooling. It's had a tremendous impact on schooling. Some of us will say, well, I'm glad that things are getting better. What we have to realize is that there's a 2-year gap in children's learning, a 2-year gap. Understand, learning is built, one piece leads to the next. And for a number of children, there's a 2-year gap there. And yet we have to figure out, what do we have to do to close that gap? The purpose of this podcast started almost a year ago, February of 2021. The reason why I started it, I've spent more than most of my life in their early childhood, looking at young children, looking at their preparation for schooling, and looking at how well they get through if they have a solid foundation. The pandemic is going to change the world that the next generation is growing up in. It has changed it. And we want to spend some time looking at a few things here as it pertains to children's development and learning. And if you notice on the screen, is how to parent is a personal decision. This is not to tell you how to parent, but in today's world, parenting has to go beyond a little more than just loving your child. There's a program now that comes on, the parenting test, and it shows different configurations of parents and what they do with their children. Regardless, on the back end, we all want our children to be successful in life. And the preparation during the early years makes a difference in terms of how they will survive and thrive. So I want to spend some time today just going over some points, but more specifically to talk about what is it that you need to know that to infuse into the way that you raise your children that's going to help make them better. There are two things that's going to impact their life: artificial intelligence, and more of it is being infused into our daily living. Where it's going to take us, we're not sure. We're not sure, but we do know that regardless of where that's going, you have to have a good foundation in the beginning. Now, what you want your children to come away from their childhood with is really a love for learning. Children naturally want to know. They want to know. Children can ask more questions than we have answers for. That's their curiosity. what they learn and what they develop an appreciation for has to do with the early experiences that they are exposed to. Each experience helps them to develop their knowledge base. Each experience helps them to develop an appreciation for what it is that they are engaging in. Let me be just academic for a moment. What the research and the science tells us that during the early years, from 0 to 5, 85% of the brain is developed. The brain develops based upon the exposure and experiences that children engage themselves in. The key area in which children learn is through play. Let me say that again. The key area in which young children learn is through play, how they engage themselves in what they are exposed to. So play is a critical area for children to develop an appreciation for learning. So it's by exposing them through a variety of experiences, it just ignites their curiosity. Next one, please. So here, you as parent as teacher, some things that you want to do, and you don't have to stage it. You just naturally observe your children, watch what they do, and guide them. Again, what children as they are developing this appreciation, it's what they engage in. You don't have to tell children to play; they just do it. They begin by tinkering. What does this feel like? What does this do? How does it work? And their eyes are everywhere, just examining and exploring all of what they are exposed to. Their hands touch, their eyes observe, and their senses take in things. So today, I just want to kind of go over these points so that as we move over the next few weeks, we want to talk about the whole area of how do we engage our children so that they begin developing this real appreciation and a love of learning. So here we see the next slide says, consider the brain is like a cell phone. Remember, everybody has a cell phone. And we take pictures of everything that we see. The more we see, the more we have an opportunity to explore. Now, this picture, look at the curiosity. There's some steam coming up from a pot. Now, remember, there's a safety factor here. You just don't want to put a pot of boiling water down. But when a child sees something, look at the eyes, look at the question marks. In other words, what is it that I'm looking at? What is this? What do you do with it? What can I do with it? Does it have a smell? Does it have a taste? The point is, it's the brain and the eyes are seeking ways to explore as this child is kind of crawling on the floor there. So the brain of a child is always at work, and all the senses are involved as he or she is engaging in a particular activity. So what you saw was, again, this is just to whet your appetite. And again, keep in mind that what we're doing is laying the foundation for our children's development. We're laying the foundation for their appreciation for learning. So what I want you to do as we go through these weeks, I'm going to have a 15, 20-minute presentation, a format that will lay out some nuggets about our history, some nuggets about our culture, and some nuggets that you can nurture as you engage with your children. Today ends Black History for the Black History Month for 2023. but it doesn't end for us. We live it. You know, we will continue on. And I will quiz you on some little things about Africa, some nuggets about Africa, the size of Africa, what Africa has to offer to the world, and what Africa and how Africa has contributed to the civilization of the world. Some want to discard Africa, but you could take America and put it inside of Africa at 3 times, and you still have lots of space. There's over 1 billion people living in Africa. If you took 3 continents, China, India, Europe, you could put them all in Africa and there'd still be space. That's the enormity of Africa. So today I wanted to at least kind of call your attention to how we're going to proceed over the weeks. And I will have some things I want to demonstrate to you so that you can do them with your children. Some things around knowledge, some things around skills, and some things around what we call disposition. How do we feel about it? Do I like this and whatever? So the whole idea from Chats with Baba is to empower you as a parent as you engage your child in developing his or her foundation for learning. It's not telling you how to parent, but it's trying to, again, to fill up your quiver with information that's going into a very different world. So with that, we will look forward to seeing you next week, Chats with Baba, and we'll have continued exploration of literacy during the early years of a child's life, especially around STEM, math, reading, science, and technology. So with that, this concludes our Chat with Baba for this evening. And we will continue with Chats with Baba next week. So have a good evening, and we'll see you then. Bye now.